The Wild West wasn't a storybook. It wasn't gold and glory. It was dust in your lungs, silence with a gun, and boots that never fit right. Out here, you don't survive because you're brave. You survive because no one cares if you don't. And you just stepped off the train. If you enjoy stories like this, calm, slow, immersive, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It helps more than you think. And in the comments, let me know, where in the world are you watching from? And what time period should we dive into next? Now, close your eyes. Let's walk into the dirt together. You arrived on the 4, 17 out of Dodge, in a seat you didn't pay full price for, with a bag full of things that weren't really yours. The conductor didn't ask questions. The train didn't care who you were. It was the kind of ride people take when they're done being someone and not yet sure what they'll be. Next. You told a man back in Kansas you knew how to work fences. He nodded, slipped you a $50 and said, "Go west. They always need hands." So you went. Not because you believed him, because you had no reason not to. You didn't look like a ranch hand. Too clean. Too pale. Your boots still had shine left in them, and your shoulders hadn't yet learned the habit of shrinking under. Sun. But the train didn't notice. The train just kept going. And you let it. Hours blurred. Fields turned to dust. Towns came and went with names that sounded made up. Bitter Ridge, Dry Eye, Coyote Bend. You tried to sleep. Didn't happen. The whistle wailed like a wolf with something stuck in its throat, and the night outside clawed at the windows like it wanted to get in. When you finally did arrive, the station looked less like a building and more like a suggestion. A bench, a sign, a telegraph pole that leaned like it had given up years ago. The sign said, "Clean water." You tasted the air. It was lying. You stepped down and the heat hit you in the teeth. Not the kind of heat that builds, the kind that waits like it knew you were coming. Dust rose up to greet you, settled in your collar, your throat, your eyes. No welcome. No hand to shake. Just heat and silence. And a single kid standing near the edge of the platform, staring. He looked about 10, chewing something tough. Bare feet, dusty from yesterday and every day before. He didn't blink, just looked at you and said, "You lost?" You tried to smile. "No." He spat into the dust. "Then you're in trouble." Then walked off like he'd done his good deed for the day. Clean water wasn't much. 3 streets. A church with no bell. A sheriff's office with no windows. And a saloon that leaned forward like it wanted to fall into your arms. You walked that way, because there wasn't anywhere else. Inside, the air was thick, cooler, but not fresh. It smelled like sweat, spilled whiskey, and mistakes that couldn't be mopped up. A piano sat in the corner, missing more keys than it had. No one played. The bartender was cleaning a glass that didn't look like it deserved the effort. He saw you and didn't smile. "What'll it be?" You hesitated. "Water?" He laughed once, dry. "That's rich." Then poured something golden and mean into a chipped glass and slid it across the bar. First one's charity. After that, it's survival. You took a sip. It tasted like heat and old wood. It hurt, but it was honest. They had rooms upstairs. You didn't ask for one, just nodded when the barkeep jerked his head toward the stairs. The bed was thin, the mattress thinner, but the roof didn't leak, and the window looked out on nothing worth stealing. You took off your boots and counted your money. 1 silver, 2 copper, and a token for a drink you already drank. You laid back and tried to remember why you came, and then stopped trying. You didn't sleep so much as disappear. When morning clawed its way into the sky, you were already awake. The dust outside looked brighter in daylight, but no less cruel. You washed your face with what was left in your canteen and went downstairs. The bartender was already sweeping the floor. He looked at you like he wasn't sure you were still real. Job boards out front. If you got hands, someone will use 'em. You nodded and stepped out into the sun. It hit you like a new insult. The job board was a plank of wood nailed to the saloon wall. A few scraps of paper fluttered in the wind. One caught your eye. Need fence mender. No horse, no wage until work shown. You didn't flinch. You took it and started walking. 10 miles. That's what the man in the saloon had muttered. 10 miles to the ranch. You didn't have a map. Didn't need one. There was only one road, and it led away from the last thing you knew and towards something that might kill you slower. The road was cruel. Straight as a nail. Empty. No wagons. No riders. Just you, your boots, and the heat, which had gotten bolder overnight. You passed a dead jackrabbit. Flies didn't even bother. The wind kicked dust in your face like it thought you were worth the effort. By the time you reached the ranch, your legs ached, and your water was gone. The ranch itself was a sorry patch of land with a crooked barn and a fence that looked more metaphor than function. A man stood waiting. Big shoulders. Eyes like stone. He saw the scrap of paper in your hand and nodded. That yours? You nodded back. He looked at your boots. Your hands. Your face. You don't look like much. You didn't answer. Fence is that way. Then he turned and walked back inside. You didn't get instructions. Just expectation. You started at the worst section, splintered wood, twisted nails, posts leaning like they'd given up. You got to work. The hammer felt heavy in your hand. Each swing chipped more off your patience than the wood. The nails were old. The sun was older. You worked until the sweat burned your eyes, and your hands bled through the bandage you made from your shirt. No one came to check. No one offered water. You were a ghost with a hammer, and the ghost wanted to stay. By sundown, you'd fixed 7 posts. Not perfect. Not pretty. But standing. The man returned. Looked once. Said nothing. Then jerked a thumb toward the barn. Loft's yours. Don't piss on the hay. You climbed the ladder with arms that didn't want to lift. Lay down in straw that poked like needles. Closed your eyes. And slept. Not because it was peaceful. Because you had no energy left to regret anything. Tomorrow would come. The sun would rise. And the West would still not care who you were. But for now, you had a roof, a job, and just enough silence to let your story begin. You wake before the sun, not because of habit, you don't have those anymore, but because of the silence. A silence too clean, too wide. It feels like something's waiting. You open your eyes and remember where you are. The loft. The hay. The way your body aches like it lost a fight in the dark. Your shirt is stuck to your back with dried sweat. Your fingers don't want to uncurl, but the day doesn't care. You climb down from the loft slow, careful, like you expect something to pull you back. Nothing does. The dirt outside is cold for now, but you can already smell the heat curled beneath it, ready to rise. The ranch house stands quiet. The door closed. No smoke from the chimney. You're not invited in. You understand that now. You fetch a bucket from the side wall and walk toward the well. The water isn't clear. It smells like rust and disappointment. but you drink anyway. Not because it's good, because it's there. You pour the rest over your hands. The cuts sting. You welcome it. Pain reminds you you're still inside this body. Still walking. Still not dead. The man from yesterday is sitting on a crate, sharpening a blade. He doesn't look up. Start on the east fence. Top rails sagging. You nod. He doesn't ask if you slept well. You don't ask if he means today. Everything is today out here. The east fence is worse than the one before. Old nails bent sideways. Wood split from too many summers. You run your fingers along the top, and a splinter lodges beneath your skin. It doesn't bleed. Not yet. You don't stop to pull it out. You work with the kind of focus born from not knowing what else to do. The hammer swings. The rails lift. You wedge and brace and breathe through your teeth. The sweat comes faster today. The sun has no patience this morning. By noon, your shirt is soaked. Your fingers shake when they hold a nail, and your mouth tastes like copper and dust. You check your canteen. Empty. Of course it is. There's no shade. No tree. Just the fence and the horizon endless and smug. You rest 1 minute too long. The man appears. You tired? You don't answer. Because yes isn't useful. He tosses you a piece of jerky. Chew slow. Don't waste the salt. Then he walks off again. You bite. It's tough. Salty. Feels like chewing a belt. You eat every bit. You finish the east fence before dusk. 12 rails replaced. 14 nails bent beyond use. 2 blisters torn open. You stare at it. Crooked, but standing. Like you. The man returns. Looks it over. Grunts once. Stable will need mucking tomorrow. You nod. You don't even know what that means. You'll find out. Back in the loft, the air feels tighter. The hay itches worse. You take off your shirt and press it against the worst of your cuts. You count your breaths. You think of water. You think of the city. Then stop. Nothing soft lives here. Even your thoughts need calluses. You hear a horse whinny outside. A distant shout. Then quiet again. Too much quiet. Like the land held its breath. You don't sleep right. Dream of broken fences. Of something watching you from just outside the firelight. You wake with your fists clenched. But there's no fire. Just dust. The next morning, the man hands you a pitchfork. You finally learn what mucking is. Shoveling rot. Old straw soaked through with horse piss. Flies that don't even bother moving. The stable smells like death's waiting room. You don't complain. Just work. The rhythm helps. Fork. Toss. Fork. Toss. Breathe. Your back screams halfway through. You ignore it. The horses blink at you, unimpressed. The man watches from the doorway. Doesn't speak. Just smokes. You keep working. Because there's nothing else. And because if you stop, you'll remember how badly your legs hurt. When it's done, he nods toward the trough. You can drink. You do. It's worse than the well, but colder. And that's enough. Later, he tosses you a rag. You'll want to sleep outside tonight. Loft gets hot. You drag your blanket under the eaves of the barn and lie down in dirt that's still warm from the day. You look at the stars. You never notice them in the city. Here, they're loud, bright, like they might fall on you any second. You feel very small and very, very real. You whisper a name into the dark. Not yours. Hers. The one who left you. Or maybe the one you left. Either way, it still echoes in your throat. And the dirt listens. Better than people ever did. You don't know if you'll survive here. But you know this. No one's going to carry you. No one's going to save you. And every day you last is a day the land didn't take you. Yet, you didn't hear it coming. That's the thing about storms out here, they don't warn you. There's no smell of rain, no whisper of thunder far off. The wind just changes. Then it's already too late. You woke to a sky that looked wrong, yellow at the edges, too still, as if someone had forgotten to turn on the sound. Even the horses were quiet, even the flies. And when everything's quiet on the prairie, you don't feel peace. You feel watched. The man, you still don't know his name, looked up from his stool, chewing tobacco like it owed him something. He spit. Storm's comin'. That was all. Then he went back to sharpening a shovel. Not a knife. A shovel? You didn't ask why. You just got moving. The fence had come loose again overnight. 2 posts leaned like drunk men. You started resetting them, working fast, but the air clung to you like wet wool. Your shirt was soaked before the sun cleared the barn, and still no wind. Just heat and silence. Around mid-morning, the sky turned copper. The dust lifted in thin ribbons off the hills. Your eyes burned. Your throat scraped with every breath. But you didn't stop. You couldn't. Something in you whispered. If you stop now, it'll find you. You didn't know what it was. You didn't want to. By noon, the wind returned. All at once. Hard. Like someone opened a door to another world and it wanted in. The dust came with it sharp, swirling, alive. You wrapped a cloth around your face and kept hammering. 1 post. Then another. Your knuckles bled from splinters. Your lungs burned. Still you stayed. Then came the sound. Low. Distant. Rolling like 1,000 horses galloping in a canyon. Thunder. But it wasn't just thunder. It had weight. You felt it in your ribs. Behind your teeth. The man walked out of the barn. Looked once. Then turned to you. Leave it! Get in! You didn't argue. You dropped the hammer and ran. Inside the barn, the horses stomped and snorted, restless. The man closed the big doors with a grunt. Barred them with a beam that looked too old to hold. Sandstorm, he said. Bad one. You nodded, coughing. How bad? He looked at you like he was trying to decide if you were worth telling. Then said, the kind that strips paint off a church bell. And that was that. The wind screamed. Not howled, screamed. You pressed your back to a support beam and held your blanket around your head. The man sat nearby, silent. The dust crept in through cracks in the boards, fine as powder, settled on your lashes, your tongue, the soft skin behind your ears. Your eyes watered, but you kept them open, because when you closed them, it felt like something moved in the dark. Time lost shape. The storm didn't rush. It pressed, steady, like the land itself was exhaling. Somewhere, something cracked. Maybe the water trough. Maybe a tree. Maybe a piece of the sky. You started talking just to hear sound. You told the man where you were from. He didn't answer. Didn't even look at you. Just chewed. Like your story was sand, too. Hours passed. Then more. At some point, the storm stopped sounding like wind and started sounding like voices. You didn't tell the man. You weren't sure if they were real. Eventually it quieted. Not fully, but enough. The man stood, unbarred the door, stepped out into an afternoon painted in gray. Everything was coated. The barn, the fence, the horses, you, dust in every crease. In your nose, your mouth, your thoughts. The world looked older now, like it had aged overnight. The fence was gone, completely. Just pieces scattered like bones across the field. You felt something in your stomach twist. All that work, all that sweat, gone. The man just nodded. That's how it is. Then walked back inside. You didn't follow. You just stood there, looking at where the fence had been, trying not to feel small. But you were. You spent the rest of the day dragging boards back into piles, nailing what you could. Your hands blistered over blister. At one point you picked up a rail and found your initials scratched in from yesterday, already half erased by the storm. You didn't recarve them, didn't see the point. That night, you slept in the barn again, didn't dream, didn't move, just sank, like a stone in mud. In the morning, the man gave you coffee. No sugar, no words, just a mug and a nod. And for a moment, you felt like maybe you weren't alone here. Not exactly welcome, but not forgotten. You sipped the coffee and looked at the sky. Clear again, blue as promises. But you knew better now. You knew how fast it changed. The storm had taken the fence, but it left something else. A silence in you. A knowing. That out here, nothing stays. Not fences. Not names. Not people, if they're not careful. And maybe that was the first real lesson the West taught you. Not how to survive, but how to let go. You've been on the ranch 6 days. Maybe 7. Time here doesn't walk the way it used to. It limps. Each morning blends into the next. Each sky burns the same. Each task comes without warning and without praise. They haven't asked your name. Not once. Not the man who hired you. Not the boy you passed in town. Not even the horses. And they look at you more than anyone else does. You wonder if that's what happens to people out here. They stop being someone and become something. Useful. Or not. You find yourself speaking it aloud sometimes. Your name. Quiet. Just to prove it, still fits inside your mouth. It sounds strange now. Like it belongs to a different man. One with soft hands and big plans and a voice that hadn't learned how to fall silent when no one listens. That morning, the man gives you a new task. Take the mare to town. Pick up seed and oil. Don't dally. He tosses you a small pouch. You catch it by instinct. Coins inside. The mare's name is Edith. You know hers. She knows yours, even if she'll never say it. You load the bags onto her sides, check the straps twice, and start the walk back to town. You'd almost forgotten what the road looked like. It hasn't changed. Still long, still dusty, still lined with thorns pretending to be bushes. The sun beats on your back like it's trying to prove something. You don't fight it. You just walk, and walk, and think. You think about who you were before, not just your name, but the shape of your days. What did you wake up for? What did your hands do when they weren't wrapped around rope or rusted tools? Did you laugh then? Did anyone listen? You can't remember the sound of your own laugh. Only the hollow where it used to live. When you reach clean water, it feels smaller. Not because it shrank, because you did. The boy from before is sitting on the post near the well. Same look, Same chew. Still not dead? You nod once. Yet, he smirks. It's not friendly, but it's not cruel either. Just. Honest. You tie Edith to the post and head into the supply store. It smells like dust and leather and dried corn. A woman stands behind the counter. Sharp eyes. Silver hair pulled tight. She doesn't greet you, just looks up. Seed or oil? Both. She nods, disappears through a curtain, returns with sacks. You place the coin pouch on the counter. She doesn't count it. Just trusts that you wouldn't risk cheating her. Out here, a lie weighs more than gold. As you tie the sacks to Edith, a man steps out of the saloon. Big, bearded, grinning like a wolf in Sunday clothes. Ain't seen you before. You nod. I work the ranch east of town. That so? You got a name? You hesitate. It's not the question. It's the tone. Like he already decided it doesn't matter. You tell him anyway. He nods, then forgets it mid-blink. Well, boy, with a name, don't go thinking that makes you special. Out here, we all bleed the same, and dirt don't care what you're called when it covers you. Then he walks past. You ride Edith a while on the way back. Not because it's faster, because your feet are tired of proving things. The wind picks up, cooler than usual. You listen, not just to the hooves or the rustling grass, but to the absence. Out here, silence is a kind of language, and right now it says, "Be ready." Back at the ranch, the man is fixing the pump. He doesn't look up when you arrive. You unload the sacks. Set them where he pointed. He gives a single nod. Supper's inside. Don't touch the left shelf. You walk toward the house. Pause. Then say it. Do you even want to know my name? He doesn't turn. If you stay long enough to matter, I'll learn it. Then he goes back to turning bolts. Inside, the kitchen smells of beans and boiled something. You eat slow. Not because it tastes good, because it's warm. You wash your plate, dry it, set it back exactly where it was. No one told you to, but that's how it works out here. People don't ask things twice. That night, you sit on the edge of the loft, legs dangling. The stars are bright again, too many to count. Each one burns without knowing why. You whisper your name again, just once. Let it float, not into the night, but into yourself, so that if this place tries to erase you, if the wind and dust and silence bury who you were, you'll at least remember you were someone. Even if they didn't, you see the blood before you hear the scream. It's not a scream like in the stories. It's not sharp, not loud. It's muffled, worn, like a sound too tired to finish itself. But it's enough. It pulls you up from where you're raking feed into the trough, makes you drop the tool, makes your legs move without asking. You find the man, your boss, your shadow, your judge, hunched near the south fence. There's a calf on the ground, half breathing, chest rising like it's remembering how. The blood is thick, dark, still wet. And something else is there too. Footprints, not hooves, boots. You don't ask what happened. You just kneel. Your hands hover, useless. You're not a doctor, not a vet, not anything that can stop what's happening. But you stay, because there's nowhere else to go. The man tears a piece of his shirt, wraps the calf's front leg. Too late. You both know that. But it's something to do with the hands. Something to pretend with. After a while, he sighs. low, like the sound dust makes when it gives up. Someone came through last night. You nod. Rustlers? Drunks? Maybe worse. Might have just done it for fun. You don't answer, because there's nothing good to say, and nothing useful in rage. He stands up, wipes his hands on his trousers, looks out over the fence like he can still see whoever did it. Clean water's not clean, never was. He turns. You ride? You shake your head. Learn fast. By afternoon, you're on Edith again. But not to town. Not this time. This time it's north. Into the hills. The man says nothing as he rides beside you. You don't speak either. The silence between you isn't cold. It's focused. Like two knives, side by side in a drawer. You ride until the sun tips low and the light turns sideways. Then you find it. Tracks. Boot prints. Bottle shards. And what's left of a fire still smoldering in a circle of rocks. 3 spots where men sat. One with piss near it. One with broken glass. One with bones. The man crouches. Runs a hand through the ash. Lifts a scrap of cloth. Sniffs it. Whiskey, bad kind. He drops it. They're not from here. You look around. The place feels empty, but not safe, like it still remembers shouting. The man turns. They'll be gone by now. You nod. What do we do? He looks at you. The first time he's really looked at you, maybe ever. We bury the calf, and we build the fence higher. He mounts his horse. Everything else don't matter. The ride back is longer. Not in time. In weight. The kind that hangs on your shoulders, crawls behind your ribs, stays when you try to shake it off. That night, you dig. The ground is hard. The shovel's older than your boots. You sweat more from the ache than the heat. The calf doesn't make a sound now. Its eyes are open, but empty. You don't close them. Just lower the body in. Cover it. Pack the dirt firm. No marker. No prayer. Just a job that needed doing. The man watches from the barn. Doesn't help. Doesn't leave. Just watches. You finish. Wipe your forehead. Turn to him. You ever kill a man? He doesn't flinch. Yes. Then silence. Like that one word used up everything he had. You sit outside the barn a long time after dark. The air smells like dry grass and regret. The wind rustles nothing. Even the stars seem cautious. You think about the blood, how it wasn't yours, how it still felt personal, how it felt like the land itself had been insulted. You whisper a thought you didn't know was inside you. I could have been one of them. It surprises you, not because it's wrong, but because it isn't. Back where you came from, you ran with worse. You know you did. Men with knives and no plans. Boys with fists and no fathers. You weren't evil, but you weren't clean either. And maybe that's why the calf got to you. Because someone had to care, even if it was too late. That night, you sleep with your boots on, blanket across your chest, knife under your shirt. Not because you think they'll come back, because now you know they could, and that's enough. When the morning comes, the sky is pale, soft. You wake slower, but you move the same, because nothing waits for you. You help repair the fence. You sweep the loft. You carry feed. And when you wash your hands at the well, you notice something under your nails. Red-brown. You scrub. But it doesn't go. Not really. Later, as the sun starts its fall, the man stands beside you at the trough. Neither of you speak for a long time. Then he says, "You stayed. You glance at him. He doesn't look back, just stares into the hills. Most would have run after seeing blood. You nod, but say nothing, because it wasn't just blood you saw, it was choice, and you chose to stay. The West doesn't thank you for that, but maybe it noticed. Maybe the dust felt it. Maybe your name, whatever it is, settled deeper into the ground that day. Not carved, not written, just pressed into the dirt by boots that didn't leave. You wake with a twitch in your leg and a knot in your shoulder. The kind of pain that isn't sharp, but settled, like a tenant that never pays rent and still refuses to leave. The loft is stuffy. The air stinks of hay and old sweat. You pull your boots on, slower today. Not because you're lazy, because your body remembers every post you've lifted, every stone you've turned, every fence you've nailed together. Even if no one else does. Outside, the sun hasn't fully risen yet. The sky's still gray. That pale, waiting gray that makes you wonder if the day's going to bother getting up at all. But you are. Because it doesn't matter what the sky decides. You've got chores. The man's still just... The man in your head is waiting by the barn. He doesn't greet you. He never does. Instead, he just says, "Ride into town. Bring back the saw blade. And if you see him, ask if that order of nails is coming this century." He hands you the coin pouch and a piece of paper folded 3 times. Try not to look like you're stealing something. You nod. Edith, the mare, eyes you the way tired women eye foolish men. You try to pat her neck. She flicks her ear like it's an insult. But she stands still while you saddle her. You're learning her, and she, maybe, is learning you. The saddle's too wide. Always has been. You shift your weight, trying to settle into it. Doesn't help. It tilts to the left. Pinches your thigh. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. But it does. Little things matter out here. Because they grow into big things when no one's looking. You ride. Not fast. Not slow. The pace between forgetting and remembering. The town is still half asleep when you arrive. A dog barks somewhere. A door creaks. The saloon's already open. Of course it is. At the general store, the old woman sees you. This time, she nods. Tiny thing. Barely movement. But it's something. You show her the paper. She reads it. Disappears in the back. You wait, eyes scanning the cracked walls, the dusty shelves, the rope coils and coffee tins. When she returns, she's holding a wrapped bundle and a small sack of nails. Tell him I added twine. He'll need it. He's always too proud to ask. You smirk. I'll tell him. She gives you a look. Don't. You nod again. Outside, the wind picks up. Cooler than yesterday. You feel it behind your collar. Whispers. Something's shifting. Not the weather. Something quieter. You tie down the bundle on Edith's back. Double knot it. She flinches once, then stills. The saddle creaks. You mount. It leans again. You adjust. It still leans. Halfway back, the stirrup snaps. Just a thread too old. A stitch too tired. You slide sideways, not off, but nearly. Your left leg jars against the saddle horn. Your spine twists. You curse. Loud. Edith stops. Looks back like she's deciding whether you're worth it. You swing off. Check the damage. The leather's torn through. No fixing that out here. Not with twine. Not today. You walk beside her. The saddle thumps against her back with every step. She doesn't complain. But you feel guilty anyway. like the leather failed her, and that, somehow, is your fault. The road home feels longer, the dust kicks higher, and you keep thinking about that stirrup, how small it was, how it almost put you in the dirt. You think about all the other things out here that don't quite fit, the boots that still blister, the bed that's too short, the silence that's too loud, the man who gives you work but not words, and this whole place rough at the edges, soft nowhere. When you finally get back, the man is splitting wood. You drop the bundle near the barn. He eyes the broken stirrup. Full? Almost. He spits in the dirt. Almost worse. Almost makes you sloppy. You nod. Because he's not wrong. And because there's no point arguing. You carry the nails to the tool shed. Line them up. Square. Even. Silent. And then you go to the loft and sit down with the stirrup in your hands. It's not just broken. It's tired. Like everything here, like you run your fingers over the leather. Rough. Cracked. You think about fixing it. Not now, but soon. Not because you love it, but because it matters. Because everything here that doesn't fit still gets used. Still gets expected to hold. And sometimes it does. That night, you don't talk to anyone. Not the man. Not the stars. Not yourself. You just lie in the hay, your hands dirty, your legs sore, and the saddle leaning against the wall like it's waiting for a second chance. You close your eyes. And for a second, just a second, you wonder if you're the saddle. And if you are, will you ever fit? You find the paper by accident, folded in half, tucked beneath a rusted tin in the back of the barn. Yellowed, spotted. Smells like old hay and old hope. At first you think it's someone else's, maybe the man's, or some drifter's. But when you open it, the handwriting stops you. It's yours. You don't remember writing it. But the shape of the words, the slant of the letters, that's your hand. There's no name at the top. No dear or to. Just lines. Broken thoughts. Soft words. A voice you don't recognize anymore. I thought if I left fast enough, I'd outrun the silence. I thought I'd find something solid to stand on. I miss your laugh. You read it once. Then again, you fold it back up, slowly, and slip it into your shirt pocket. It rides there the rest of the day, pressing lightly against your chest with every breath, like it wants to remind you it's still there, like it wants you to finish it. The work is harder today, not in weight, in mind. You swing the axe, stack the wood, pump the water, but all the while, the paper tugs at you. What else have you forgotten? What other words are buried in you, waiting to be spoken? You sit behind the barn at dusk, feet in the dirt, back against the wall, the sun's leaking orange into everything, and you pull the paper out again. You don't write. You almost write, but the pen feels too heavy. The page feels too far, and your voice, the one inside, is too unsure of its shape now. Instead, you remember the kitchen window back home, the one with the chipped corner. You remember the sound of her boots on the stairs. You remember how you never knew what to say when she cried, so you just sat close and hoped that was enough. Sometimes it was. Sometimes it wasn't. But it was real. And that mattered. The man finds you still sitting there. He's carrying a pail of grain. He looks at the paper, says nothing. Then, after a moment, you write her? You don't answer right away. Then nod. Not enough. He grunts. Sets the pail down. People think words fix things. They don't, but they mark them. You look up. Mark them how? He shrugs. So you know it happened, so you don't lie to yourself later. Then he walks off, like he didn't say something that stuck a nail in your ribs. That night you can't sleep, not from heat, not from cold, but from restlessness, from the way your name still echoes in the dark, from the way her name does too. You sit up, take out the paper, and this time you write. Not perfectly, not clean, but honestly, the wind here is louder than the voices. The man I work for doesn't know my name. I'm not sure I do either. There's a mare named Edith. She's the only one who looks at me like I'm real. Sometimes I wonder if I left because I was brave, or just afraid you'd leave first. You stop, not because you're done, because you're tired. Not sleepy tired, the kind that lives in the bones. You fold the paper again, place it under your blanket, close your eyes, and for the first time in days, the dark doesn't feel like it's closing in, just being. The next morning, you feed the chickens before the sun crests the hills. You wash your face at the pump. The cold water stings, wakes something in you. You take out the letter, read it once more, then carefully place it in a tin, seal it, and bury it behind the barn, 6 inches down, marked with a flat stone. You don't cry, but your chest feels hollow after, like a bell that's been rung too hard. Later, the man hands you a tool with a broken handle. Fix it. You do. Not because he asked, because the handle deserves better, because it's been used, and worn, and never thanked. That evening, you walk to the far end of the pasture, the fence line, where the sky looks bigger than it has any right to. You breathe deep and whisper her name. Not loud, just enough to know it still fits in your mouth. The wind doesn't answer, but it moves, and that's enough. It begins with a stranger. That's how it always starts, out here. Not with a scream, not with a warning, but with a pair of boots no one recognizes and a name no one says twice. You're walking back from the creek, bucket in hand, boots damp from moss and loose gravel. The wind smells of smoke, not fire, but tobacco, fresh, sharp. When you crest the hill, you see him, leaning against the fence like he built it. Hat too clean, eyes too still, smile too thin. You know that smile. It's the kind men wear when they've already decided who you are, and it's not good. The man, your man, stands near the barn, arms folded, 1 foot angled slightly. He hasn't moved, but you can tell, from this distance, that he's ready. You tighten your grip on the bucket and walk slower, not to be sneaky, to listen, to weigh, to think. When you get close, the stranger glances at you, barely, as if you're just another post in the fence. He says, "Didn't think you'd hire help. Your man doesn't blink. Didn't think you'd show your face." The stranger laughs, not like a man who finds something funny, like one who finds something over. You step closer. The bucket touches your knee. You set it down, not loud, just placed. A question in motion. Neither of them answer it. Then the stranger's eyes settle on you, really settle, like he's flipping through pages. "This your boy?" You speak before your man does. "I work." The stranger nods. "That what they call it now?" You don't answer. He likes that. He grins, but the grin doesn't move his eyes. The silence stretches. Not awkward. Dangerous. The kind that hums. You can feel your pulse in your tongue. Then finally the man says, "You made your choice. Ain't nothing for you here." The stranger shrugs. "Didn't come for nothing. Came for what's owed." You don't know what that means. Not exactly. But you know the weight behind it. You've heard that tone before in alleys, in courtrooms, in graveyards. The man shifts, barely. His boot slides half an inch in the dirt. The stranger's hand drops to his side. Not fast, not slow, just ready. And that's when you feel it, the knife in your boot. You'd almost forgotten it was there. The one you kept after the storm, after the calf, after the men who didn't leave names. You feel it now, cold, solid, waiting. You don't draw it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But you rest your hand near it. A quiet decision. A promise. The stranger sees. Of course he does. He smiles again. This one wider. Taught him that. The man doesn't answer. You keep your hand still, breathing shallow. The sun is high. The shadows are short. And everything hangs in that breath between words. Then, like a string snapping, the stranger spits, dusts his coat, and turns. Ain't worth it. He starts walking. Not yet. No one moves until his boots are small, then smaller, then gone. The man doesn't speak. You don't either. You both just stand there, listening to the emptiness the stranger left behind. It hums different than before, sharper. Finally, the man says, "He used to own land near here." You nod. "Wait. Tried to claim mine." Another pause. "Lost it fair." That's all he says. That's all you need. Later, when you're feeding Edith, she noses your side. Right where the knife still sits. You pet her neck. Soft. Grateful. That night, you clean the blade. Not because it's dirty, because it might have been used. And things like that need respect. Even if the moment passes. Even if the knife stays sheathed. You think about what would have happened if you'd drawn. If the stranger had. If the man had. You imagine the dirt. The blood. The weight of a body going slack. You try not to imagine your hands shaking, but they would have. You know they would have. Still, you stayed. Still, you didn't run. Still, you stood between something you didn't understand and a man who still hasn't said your name. And maybe that's enough. Out here, you measure worth in silence. In moments not taken. In knives not drawn. And that says something. It should have rained. The sky looked like it might. Bruised clouds stitched across the horizon. A hush in the grass. A weight in the air. Everything said yes. But the sky? It said not yet. You'd been hoping for it. Not just because the fields were dry. Not just because the animals breathed dust now. But because something in you needed it. The sound, the smell, the clean. You wanted it to wash something off, even if you couldn't name what. The day starts like all the others. You wake before the rooster, stretch, wince, climb down from the loft with hay in your shirt and sleep still crusted at the corners of your eyes. Outside, the wind is still, too still, like the world is listening. The man meets you at the gate. He nods at the field. Fence is sagging again. You nod. No need to ask which one. You already know. The south fence always sags. Like it's tired of standing alone. You walk the length of it with hammer and nails. a new coil of wire slung over your shoulder. The boards creak under your hand, some soft, some splintered, some holding on just fine, despite the odds. You wonder which one you are today. The sky grumbles once. Low, a warning cough, not a promise. You look up, feel a drop, but just one. It lands on your cheek like a question. You wait. Another doesn't come. So you keep working. Nail. Stretch. Hammer. Repeat. Your rhythm becomes its own kind of prayer. Each swing of the hammer a word. Each breath a pause. You wonder, absurdly, if the fence listens. If the land does. If the sky cares. A rabbit startles from the brush and darts into the scrub. You watch it vanish. Quick, clean, without permission. You envy it. For its speed. For its certainty. For knowing where it was going. By noon, your shirt sticks to your back. Sweat crusts at your temples. The clouds deepen but hold. Stingy things. They carry water like a man carries guilt heavy, quiet, never letting go. At the well, you draw a bucket. The rope groans. The pulley wheezes. You drink from your hands. The water's warm. Tastes like old metal and grit. But it's wet. That's all that matters. The man walks by. Eyes the sky. Storm's bluffing. You nod. You both want to believe he's wrong. But he's not. Not this time. Afternoon fades slow. The kind of slow that makes you feel older than you are. You sit by the barn door, peeling a stubborn blister from your palm. Edith wanders by, sniffs your boot, and stands with you. Silent. Present. She's good at that. Better than most people you've known. In the distance, something flashes. Lightning, but no thunder. A lie of a storm. The kind that teases but doesn't deliver. You think about people like that. You think about promises that flash but don't echo. You remember a time not long ago when rain meant shelter, when you'd press close to her in that tiny cabin, listening to the roof tick and hiss. You'd trace her fingers, talk slow, count heartbeats. You miss that. Not the cabin. Not the rain. Her. The man joins you after supper. Sits without asking. Lights a pipe. The smoke curls up and joins the sky. Used to be you could smell rain coming. Now it just threatens. You nod. Maybe it's waiting. He chuckles. Ain't no patience in clouds. They either break or they don't. You sit a while, not talking, just listening to the land creak and settle. Then he says soft, "You fix that fence good. You don't say thank you." He wouldn't like that. Instead, you nod. That's enough. Later, in the loft, you lie awake. The clouds still hover outside the open window. Big, dark, empty. You close your eyes and whisper a thought. Not a prayer. Just a sentence. If you're gonna rain, rain. It's not to the sky. Not really. It's to everything that's held back. Every word unsaid. Every tear unshed. Every choice unmade. If it's coming, let it come. If not, stop pretending. But the sky doesn't listen. It never does. You smell it before you see it. Bread. Real bread. Not burnt biscuits or hard tack. Not cornmeal flattened and fried in old grease. This is soft. Yeasty. Still warm. It pulls you like a rope. You follow the scent to the kitchen door. And there she is. You don't know her name. She arrived that morning, with 2 sacks of flour and a frown that could cut fence wire. The man didn't explain. He never does. Just told you to stay out of the way and stack the back pantry if you weren't going to be useful. You did. But now it's late, and the kitchen glows. And your stomach? It remembers what it used to mean to feel full. She doesn't look up when you enter. She's kneading dough, forearms dusted with flour, wrinkles at her elbows. She's not old, but she's not young either. Her movements are practiced, precise, like she's folding more than just bread. Maybe memory, maybe anger, maybe both. You hover in the doorway, like a boy again, like a stray. She glances at you once, not with surprise, just a measuring kind of stare. Then she says, "You eat?" You nod. "Some." "Well, sit." You do. The chair creaks under you. You keep your hands folded in your lap, like they might embarrass you otherwise. She pours coffee. Black. No sugar. No milk. Sets it in front of you. Then slices a piece of the loaf. The crust cracks softly. Steam escapes. She places it on a plate and pushes it toward you. No grace. No gesture. Just bread. You take it. Hands trembling more than you expected. You bite. The crust is crisp. The inside warm, soft, alive, like something still breathing. It fills your mouth with taste and your chest with something else. You don't name it, but it hurts in a kind way. She watches, doesn't speak, just leans against the counter and drinks her own coffee, slowly. After a while, she says, "How long you been here?" "Since spring." She nods. "That long?" "Feels longer." They all say that. She pours herself more. You sip yours. Bitter, but grounding, like drinking shadow. "What's your name?" You hesitate. She sees it, raises an eyebrow. "Don't know it?" "Haven't needed it." She doesn't push, just lets it hang, like laundry on a still day. "You work hard?" "I try." She nods again. "Trying's fine. Earning's better." You flinch, not visibly, but inside something folds, because she's right. And you know this meal isn't yours. Not really. You didn't chop the wood that fired the stove. Didn't raise the wheat. Didn't do more than survive today. But she doesn't take it back. Doesn't shame you. Just walks to the window. Looks out. He never says thank you. You glance up. No. Doesn't mean he's ungrateful. Feels like it sometimes. That's the West. Feels like one thing means another. She pauses. It'll teach you if you listen. You finish the bread. Not fast, but not slow either. You don't want to seem desperate, but you don't want it to cool either. It tastes like a memory you never had. When you're done, you rise. She watches you rinse the plate, dry it, set it back. You don't ask where it goes. You just choose a shelf. Hope it's right. She doesn't correct you. "There'll be stew tomorrow." You nod. "Thank you." She lifts her chin slightly. "Earn it." That night, you lie awake. The taste still on your tongue. You think about all the meals you've missed. All the ones you've taken without giving back. All the days you swallowed silence for dinner. And now, here, one plate, one crust, one kindness, and the burden of making it mean something. You decide then, without saying it aloud. Tomorrow, you'll do more. Not because someone asked, but because something inside you is still hungry. And not just for food. It starts with a smell. Not smoke, Not dust, not sweat. Ozone. Sharp. Clean. Impossible to miss once you've smelled it for the first time. You're in the field hauling a coil of wire too stubborn to unwind. And suddenly, you stop. Not because of the ache in your back, because the world around you holds its breath. Like everything knows what's coming, and wants to remember the moment before. You look up, and for the first time in weeks, the clouds don't bluff. They gather. Thick. Heavy. Low. Like they've been building a case and finally have enough evidence. The wind picks up. Not violent. Just certain. It wraps around you, pulls your sweat to your skin's edge, cools you without asking. The horses in the pen lift their heads. One stamps. One whinnies, not panic, but alert. The man steps out of the barn, wiping his hands on a rag that used to be white. He follows your gaze, says nothing, but his face does. It says, "It's about damn time. You both work faster. No orders, no chatter, just a shared urgency. The kind that comes when you know what the sky can do and how little it cares about your schedule. You drag tarps over the feed barrels. Secure the tools. Move the wheelbarrow under the awning. It's not enough, and you both know it. But it's what you can do. Out here, that's all that matters. When the first drop hits your neck, it's like a touch from something older than time. Cold. Intentional. Then another. Then another. And then it's not drops anymore. It's rain. Real rain. Thick. Unapologetic. Holy. You laugh. Loud. Sudden. Like it was stored somewhere and just cracked open. The man looks at you like you've gone mad. Then barely he smiles. You don't go inside. Neither does he. You both stand in it. Soaked within seconds. Not caring. Because this is proof. Proof that waiting sometimes works. That dryness isn't permanent. That even the hardest sky can break. Behind you, the door opens. She steps out. The woman. Still no name. Hair tied up. Apron clinging to her hips. She sees the rain. Her eyes soften. Then, and it's quick, she lifts her face to the sky and closes her eyes. Like she's being forgiven. The dirt turns dark. The scent rises. Every drop lands with purpose. You feel them on your scalp, down your spine, inside your boots. You don't care. Not now. Then you remember the horses. You turn and jog to the pen. They're pacing. Not scared. Just restless. You murmur low. Ease them. Move them under the lean-to. Pat their necks. Feel the rain on your back, soaking through your shirt. Still, you don't care. This is what alive feels like. When the thunder cracks, it doesn't scare you. It sounds like a drum, a call, a promise. You stay out until the cold starts to bite, until your fingers stiffen and your jaw aches from smiling too long. Then you head inside. The house smells of stew and wood smoke and something warm you forgot had a name. Comfort. She hands you a towel without asking. You wipe your face, your arms. Steam curls up from your skin like you're being cooked slow. The man takes off his hat and sets it near the fire. You all sit, not talking, just listening to the patter against the roof. It's not loud. It's full. It fills the space between walls, between people, between what was and what might be. The meal is simple. Beans, root vegetables, thick bread, But tonight, it tastes like victory, not the loud kind. The kind that's earned in silence. One nail, one post, one dry morning at a time. Afterward, you help with the dishes. Not because you're asked, because you want to. Because some moments deserve more than gratitude. They deserve presence. She glances at you while you dry a plate. Storm will pass by dawn. You nod, hope it leaves something behind. It already has. She doesn't explain, and you don't ask. You just hold the plate a second longer before setting it down. That night, you sleep heavy, boots off, blanket over your chest, windows open, letting the wind carry in the scent of wet dirt and peace. You dream of water, not drowning, not floods, just flow, cool streams, slow rivers, endless blue skies with rain that doesn't hurt. You wake before the rooster again, but this time the sky is clear, not cruel clear, kind, soft, the kind of blue that promises more. You stretch, breathe, step outside. The ground squelches beneath your heel. You smile, because now, maybe, things will grow, not just the crops. There's a fork in the path near the ridge. It's not marked. No sign, no post. Just two ruts diverging in the dirt like they couldn't agree on where to go. One keeps heading toward town the way you've taken a dozen times. The other fades off toward the hills. It's narrower, less worn, less sure. You've never walked it. Not yet. But today, the air's different. Fresh from the rain. Heavy with green things, remembering how to live. And your feet? They ache for something that isn't wood and wire. So you take the other path. Not because you should. Because it's there. The road climbs slow, winding through scrub and rock. You see the land from a new angle. Your barn. The pasture. The field you worked yesterday. They look small. And a little farther the creek that snakes beyond the edge of the property. And farther still town, just a scatter of rooftops and smoke. All the things that felt big, now distant, quiet. Your boots pressed deep into the softened dirt. The rain made everything softer. Even you. You walk with no destination, just motion. Each step a question. Where would you be if you hadn't come here? Not just here on this trail. But here, this life, this land, this silence. There's a ridge about a mile in, steep enough to make you pause. At the top, you find a stump, half rotted, split from age and lightning. You sit, watch the clouds drift, feel the breeze against your damp shirt. You pull out the paper you keep folded in your pocket. Not the old letter, a new one. Blank, crisp. You've carried it for weeks now, waiting. You smooth it across your knee. The wind tries to take it, but you hold firm, and then slowly you write. Not much, just a few lines. Not to anyone, not this time, to the version of you that never came here, the one that turned left instead of right, stayed in the city, took the job, never got their hands dirty. I don't know if you're better off, but I know this much: I can breathe here, and sometimes that's enough. You stop, fold the page. No need to send it. It's not a message. It's a marker, a stone in the trail that says, I was here, and I'm still becoming. On your way back, you find an old fence post, bent and half buried. You kneel, brush the dirt from its base, run your fingers along the grain. It's cracked, worn, but not rotten. Not yet. You cut a strip of cloth from your shirt tail and tie it around the top. You don't know why. Maybe so it knows it's seen. Maybe so you know you did something today that wasn't for someone else. By the time you return, the sun's falling low. The man's at the water pump. He nods as you pass. Doesn't ask where you went. Just says, "Supper's ready." You nod back. That's enough. Inside, the table's set. 2 bowls. 1 loaf. The stew again, but thicker. She ladles it with care. More than before. You notice, but you don't say anything. Halfway through the meal, the man asks, "You walk?" You nod. "Up the ridge." He chews. Swallows. Used to go there when I first came, before the work started piling. You glance at him. "Why'd you stop?" "Didn't think I needed to anymore." He sets down his spoon, looks at his hands. "But maybe I did, that night." You climb into the loft with tired legs and a full stomach. You lie back, feel the ache in your calves, the mud still caked on your boots, and the folded note pressed against your chest. You don't sleep fast, but you do sleep whole, not because you're sure of anything, but because today you chose a road, and tomorrow maybe you'll choose another. It's in the corner of the tack room, covered in dust, brim curled wrong from years of sitting still. You wouldn't have noticed it if the light hadn't hit it just right. A shaft of morning sun slicing through. The loose boards. Finding that old felt like it was owed a glance. You don't touch it at first. Just stand in the doorway, squinting, wondering who left it there. Maybe someone like you. Maybe someone not like you at all. Someone who belonged here. Someone who fit. After a moment, you step in. The air smells like leather and old hay. You duck under a dangling bridle, shift aside a wooden crate, and kneel. The hat is heavier than it looks. The felt is thick, stiff in some places, soft in others. It's faded, a dull brown that might have once been richer, deeper. You brush off some dust. Not all of it, just enough to see the shape. You turn it over. Inside the brim, there's a faint set of initials stitched in pale thread. R.J. No last name. No date. Just a ghost of a man who once walked these same floors. You try it on. Not for pride. Not for looks. Just curiosity. It's loose. Slips too low, grazes your ears. The weight of it changes the way your head feels like it's too big for your thoughts. You take it off. Hold it in both hands. Then, against better sense, walk outside with it. The man is splitting wood by the shed. When he sees you, he stops, wipes his brow with the back of his wrist, nods toward the hat. Didn't think anyone'd find that. You hesitate. Whose was it? He picks up another log. Friend. From back when this place was just bones and hope. What happened? He lines up the axe. Swings. The crack is clean. Sharp. Life. He sets the axe down. He wore it like armor. Said it made him brave. Did it? The man shrugs. Didn't stop the things coming for him. But maybe it made him walk straighter. You glance at the hat again. Suddenly, it feels heavier. Not physically. In memory. In meaning. Mind if I hold on to it? The man looks at you for a long second, then nods. You can try, but it never did fit anybody else. You wear it that day. All day. It slips when you lean, tilts when you ride, catches on low branches and gets soaked in the trough. Still, you keep it on, not for style, not for shade, but because something about it feels earned. At dinner, she sees it and raises an eyebrow. You look like a child trying on his father's boots. You smirk. Feels that way too. She smiles. Wear it long enough, it'll learn your shape. Or, I'll learn his. Same thing. That night, you hang it by your bedroll. Set it gently on the beam like it might wake if jostled. You watch it for a while. It doesn't move, but it feels like it wants to. In the dark, you wonder about RJ, what kind of man he was, what he feared, who he loved. If he stood in this same spot, hat in hand, wondering if it would ever really feel like his. You dream strange things. Horses running through rivers. A storm that speaks your name. A woman with no face handing you a key that doesn't unlock anything. You wake before dawn. The hat is still there, waiting. Next morning, you wear it again. You fix the gate hinge. Mend a tear in Edith's harness. Carry water up from the well twice without spilling a drop. The hat wobbles less now. Your head holds it different. Or maybe your back does. You stand taller. Maybe not in pride. In permission. Later, the man joins you on the porch. He brings coffee. You both sit. Stare at the field. The fence line. The hills. The sky is open. Wide as a promise. Fits you better today. You nod. Still learning it. Takes time. Hats are like names. You don't wear 'em. They wear on you. He doesn't say more. Doesn't need to. Some things don't need wrapping. They just need room. Before bed, you set the hat down again. Not on the beam this time. On the crate beside you. Within reach. Like it's part of the work now. Part of the you who's still forming. Still stretching to fill boots he wasn't sure were his. The label inside RJ is faded even more, but it doesn't feel like someone else's name anymore. It feels like a reminder that everyone, at some point, wears what doesn't quite fit. Until one day, it does. Or until you forget it ever didn't. You hear it first in the silence. Not a rustle. Not a howl. Just the absence of a sound that should have been there. The dog didn't bark. Every night before this, she's barked. Once. Maybe twice. Low and steady, right before you blow out the lantern. A signal. Not alarm. Just notice. I'm here. They're out there. We're okay. But tonight? Nothing. Just the creak of the windmill. The slow hush of grass, leaning under the moon. And your own breath, sharp in your chest. You sit up. Not fast. Not loud. The kind of movement you make when instinct wakes you before fear does. You glance through the slats. The sky's clear. Moon full. Enough light to see shadows, but not what makes them. Boots. Jacket. Hat the one that still doesn't quite feel like yours. You step outside. No footsteps. No voices. No bark. You walk slow around the side of the barn. Hand low, near the knife. The air is still. Too still. Like the night is listening to itself. You find her near the fence. The dog. Sitting. Not stiff. Not afraid. Just watching. Ears up. Head slightly tilted. Like she knows something you don't. You kneel beside her. Whisper, "What is it, girl?" She doesn't move. Just flicks an ear. Keeps her eyes fixed ahead. Toward the tree line. Toward the part of the land that no one walks after dark. You follow her gaze. See nothing, but you feel it. A presence, or the absence of one. You can't name it. Only feel the weight of it in your bones. Like gravity just shifted a notch. You stay there with her for a while. Not speaking. Not thinking. Just being. Two creatures, alert to something unseen. Eventually, you stand. Pat her neck. She doesn't flinch. Doesn't follow when you walk back to the house. She stays. Sentinel. Inside, the man is sitting at the table. Still dressed. Still awake. He looks up when you enter. Doesn't ask where you've been. Just says, "You felt it too?" You nod. He nods back. Then, "Used to be we had more of those nights. What do you think it is?" He shrugs. "Not always danger. Sometimes it's just memory." You don't understand. Not fully. But something in the way he says it makes you want to. Memory of what? Loss, regret, old debts. He pauses. Things that used to live here. You sit. The kettle is warm on the stove. You pour water into a chipped mug. No tea. Just heat. He doesn't offer more. You don't push. After a while, he says, "You notice she didn't bark?" You nod. "Why?" He leans back. Because sometimes barking gives it shape, and some things don't need a shape. You think about that. About silence, as a kindness, as a warning, as a way of keeping a line uncrossed. Later, in the loft, you lie still, eyes open, blanket pulled to your chin. You listen, not for noise, for absence, the soft kind, the kind that feels like a question that's already been asked and never answered. You dream of smoke, not fire, not heat, just the curl of it, rising from the porch steps, from the barn, from the hilltop where someone used to stand with a hat not unlike yours, waiting, watching, regretting. You wake before dawn. The dog is back at the door, lying on the mat, ears flat, breathing slow. She looks at you once, then rests her head again. Like the moment passed, like whatever it was has moved on. At breakfast, the man doesn't mention the night. Neither do you. You eat in silence. Scrambled eggs, toast from yesterday's loaf. She hums in the kitchen while stirring the pan. The tune is old. Low. It shakes something in you loose. Afterward, you walk the fence line. Every post in place. Every latch holding. Nothing out of place, but everything feels different. As if something almost happened. And somehow, that's worse than if it had. That afternoon, she hands you a folded piece of cloth. It's stitched with initials. R.J. Same as the hat. Same as the mystery. Found it in the old drawer. Why give it to me? She shrugs. Someone should carry it, and you seem to understand quiet things. You tuck it in your jacket. Don't ask more. Don't press. Some things are meant to be carried, not explained. As the sun drops behind the hills, you sit by the fence again. The dog beside you. The night falls slow, and when the shadows stretch long and the stars begin to hum, she barks. Once. Low. Certain. And somehow, that's all the world needs to feel right again. You start writing it before the sun comes up. Not because you have something urgent to say, but because it's time. You've been carrying the idea for weeks, letting it simmer under your ribs. A sentence here, a memory there. Now the words are ready, and you're not sure if they're for them or for you. You light the lamp low. The rest of the house still sleeps. You don't want to wake them. Not yet. This part of the day is yours. The quiet, the hush. The moment where your thoughts haven't been broken yet by chores or voices or weather. The paper is creased at the edges. You smooth it with your palm. Pick up the pencil stub. It fits between your fingers like it remembers the last letter you tried to write, the one you tore up and stuffed into the fire before it was even half done. This time, you tell yourself, you'll finish. You start with a name, just a first name. Her name, the one that feels like ash and salt when you say it out loud. You haven't spoken it in months, but it still burns the same way. I don't know if this will ever reach you. That's the first line. Honest, because you don't. You don't even know where she is. If she's still waiting, if she's moved on, if she ever really waited at all. You keep writing. Slow, careful, each word pulled like a thorn. I'm not who I was when I left. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Some days I still wake up angry, but less. There's a dog here. She doesn't bark unless it matters. You pause. The wind shifts outside. You glance at the window. The sky is starting to pink. Another morning, just like the one before. And somehow, entirely different. You keep writing. You tell her about the rain, the way the ground felt under your feet afterward, the taste of bread from a stranger's hand, the silence of a man who's lost more than he says. You write about the hat, about the initials inside, about how it didn't fit and then, somehow, did. You don't write about the guilt, not directly, but it hums in the background of every sentence, like static, like a dog too tired to bark. I thought this place would erase me. Turns out it just stripped me back to something I hadn't met yet. You pause again. Look down at your hands. Rough now. Stronger, maybe. But different. They don't shake the same way they used to. The house begins to stir. A floorboard creaks. The kettle groans. You fold the letter in half. Then in half again. Slide it into the small box under your cot. With the others. The ones you never mailed. You think about burning it. Then don't. Not because you're keeping hope alive. Because you need the reminder that once you tried to say the thing that mattered. Even if you didn't send it. At breakfast, the woman looks at you longer than usual. You sleep all right. You nod. Woke early. Write something down. You glance up. Startled. She just shrugs. You look like a man who's trying to say sorry without using his mouth. You smile. Half of one. Maybe. The man doesn't comment. But he cuts the bread thicker this time. Hands you the heel. The best part, you don't say thank you, but you choose slow. That day, you work hard. Clear out the barn loft. Fix the split rail by the west field. Sharpen the tools. You don't talk much. Let your body say what your letter couldn't. Let the dirt carry the weight of your apology. Evening comes. The dog sits beside you on the porch. She doesn't ask for anything, just leans into your knee, lets you rest your hand on her head. You look up at the stars, big, bright, unbothered. You whisper her name again, just once, like a thread tied to something far away. And this time, it doesn't burn, it settles. You don't send the letter. You don't tear it up either. You let it live in the box with the others. Not as confession, not as plea. Just truth. Tomorrow, you'll write again. Maybe something shorter. Maybe not a letter at all. Maybe just a name on the wind. Or the sound of your boots doing the work. Or a silence that doesn't need to be broken. That's enough for now. That's a kind of healing, too. It was supposed to be a quiet night. Cool breeze. Clean dishes. the smell of wood smoke still clinging to your shirt from the cook stove. You were sitting on the porch, cup in hand, hat pulled low, the dog curled up by your boots. Nothing urgent, nothing loud, just stillness, the kind you've learned not to take for granted. Then you saw the glow, faint, orange, low to the ground, too high to be a lantern, too low to be the moon. You stood without thinking. The dog rose with you, ears perked, silent, alert. You stepped off the porch, listened. Nothing. No wind, no footsteps, no voices, just the slow pulse of something burning where nothing should be burning. You crossed the yard fast, boots thudding softly on the dirt. You rounded the barn and saw it, a small blaze near the fence line, dry grass catching under a bent rail, flames licking at the base of the split wood. You froze for a heartbeat. Not fear, calculation. Then you moved. You didn't yell, didn't run for help. You just acted. Grabbed the old water drum from the shed, kicked open the spigot, filled the pail halfway fast enough to spill, slow enough not to lose it. You soaked the edge of your jacket, threw it over your arm, and walked straight into the smoke. It stung. Of course it did. Your eyes watered. Your breath caught. But the fire wasn't big yet. Not roaring. Not greedy. Just hungry. And you were faster. It took 6 pails, 4 stomps, 1 singed cuff. But it died. Not with a hiss. Not with drama. Just stopped. Like it hadn't meant to be there in the first place. You stood over the charred grass, heart pounding, shirt damp, hands shaking just a little, not from fear, from memory, because you didn't start that fire. But you remembered a time when you might have, back when you were angrier, louder, less careful with matches literal and otherwise, back before quiet things like porches and dogs and morning bread had meaning. The man found you like that, hands on your knees, smoke still drifting. He didn't speak, just looked at the blackened patch, the warped fence post, then at you. You all right? You nodded. Caught early. Good. A pause. Then, you light it? You shook your head. No. Anyone else come through? You shook again. He nodded slow, but didn't press. Together, you replaced the post, dragged out a fresh beam from the pile, hammered it into place by lantern light. He held the board steady. You drove the nails, each swing loud, sharp, each echo bouncing off the dark like a warning. Back at the house, she had already laid out a basin, a rag, a tin of balm. Didn't ask what happened. Didn't need to. Just pressed your hands in hers. Checked for blisters. Said, could have been worse. And that was that. Later, you sat on the porch again. Same seat. Same cup. The dog beside you, this time wide awake, staring at the field. You didn't ask her to bark. You didn't need the noise. Silence meant you saw it first. This time, you thought about fire. How it starts, how it spreads, how it sometimes dies for no reason, and other times roars with no mercy. You thought about the fire in people, and the ones they don't mean to light. You reached into your coat, felt the folded letter still tucked inside, the one you didn't send. The one with too much weight and not enough distance. You didn't open it, just touched it, like a match you choose not to strike. The stars were high when the man spoke again, not from beside you, from behind, standing in the doorway, hat off, arms crossed. He said, "Sometimes it's not who lit the fire, it's who put it out." You didn't reply. Didn't need to. He nodded once, then left you with the night. You sat there till the sky turned silver, till the dog relaxed, till your heart slowed back into your ribs, and the memory of flame became just that memory. You didn't sleep much. Didn't need to, because when the fire comes and goes in the same night, the sun feels like forgiveness. And sometimes forgiveness is enough. Even if you didn't light the fire, it had been fraying for weeks. You'd noticed it the first time when you hitched the gate the way the fibers had thinned just behind. The knot, weather-worn and sun-bleached. A single pull from the wrong angle and it could have gone, but it held. So you left it. That's the thing about rope. When it still works, it doesn't seem like a problem, until it fails. This morning, it gave out. Right when you didn't need it to. Right when the gelding was mid-step through the gate. Right when your hands were full with grain and time was short. The crack was sudden. A dry snap. Like a twig breaking somewhere behind you. But it wasn't behind you. It was beside you. And the horse was loose. He didn't run. Not at first. Just blinked like he couldn't believe it. Then he moved. Quick. Too quick. Gate swinging wide. Dust rising. Your voice rising right after it. You dropped the bucket. Didn't shout. Just moved. Like muscle remembered before mind could catch up. You'd seen horses spook before. You'd seen them bolt. But this one wasn't bolting. He was exploring, and that might have been worse. He galloped to the field edge. Not fast. Not scared. Just free. That was the danger. Freedom without fences is only good if you know how to find your way back. Most don't. You grabbed the lasso. The good one. The one you hadn't used in months. The loop still held its shape from the last time it was wrapped. The rope in your hand was cool, rough, trustworthy. You ran. The man met you by the fence line. Didn't ask. Didn't speak. He saw the broken rope hanging. The open gate. He pointed east. Creek bed. You nodded. Took off. Boots kicking up yesterday's dust. You found the gelding by the sycamores. Head lowered. Drinking from a shallow pool like this was part of the plan all along. He looked at you once. Then back to the water, like he was waiting to be caught. Or not. Didn't matter to him. You approached slow. Rope at your side. Hands low. Voice steady. Easy now. Didn't say you couldn't wander. Just wish you'd told me first. He flicked an ear, but stayed. That was enough. You looped the rope gentle. Didn't tug. Just draped it across his neck like a question you hoped he'd answer. He didn't flinch. Didn't bolt. Didn't test the knot. Just sighed. And followed. The walk back was long. Not far. Just long. Because every step was filled with thoughts about what could have happened. The fence he could have reached. The road beyond it. The wolves you never see, but know are there. And the old fear, the one that isn't about animals or rope. The one that says, "What else are you letting hold too long?" Back at the barn, you tied him with a fresh line. Tested the hitch twice. Rubbed his neck once. He leaned into it. You stayed longer than usual. Just breathing with him. The man was by the post when you turned, coiling the snapped rope in one hand. He held it up. "Could have cut it last week." You nodded. "I thought it had more time. They always look like they do." He handed you the coil. You took it. Held the weight in your palm. It wasn't heavy, but it felt like responsibility. You hung the old rope on a nail by the door. Didn't throw it out. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Not because it could be used again. Because it needed to be remembered. That night, over stew and low light, the woman asked, "Why didn't you cut it sooner?" You thought for a moment, then answered honestly, "I didn't want to admit it couldn't be fixed." She didn't scold, didn't nod, just looked at her hands and said, "Some things aren't meant to be fixed." After supper, you took the hat, RJ's hat, and set it beside the door. You stared at it for a moment, then turned back toward the barn. Something in you needed closure. You walked to the stall, opened the latch, ran your hand along the new rope. It held, clean, tight, unquestioning. The gelding turned his head toward you, snorted once. You smiled. "Thanks for coming back easy." He blinked, like he hadn't gone anywhere at all. You sat outside the stall, back to the wood. Let the quiet of the barn wrap around you. The soft sounds of straw, breathing, old beams creaking in rhythm with the wind. You thought about all the ropes in your life. The ones you've clung to, the ones you've refused to cut, the ones that snapped when you weren't looking, and the ones that are fraying, now silent and patient, waiting for you to choose. You won't fix everything. You know that now. Some things are meant to break, so new things can hold. The next morning, you unhook the old rope from the nail. Wind it once, twice. Carry it to the fire pit. You don't light it. Not yet. Just place it there, like a promise you're still working up the nerve to keep. It creaked once. Just once. Not loud, not sharp, but enough. Enough for you to stop what you were doing, turn your head, and stare across the room at the old, quote, wooden door. The one to the storage shed. The one that always sticks in the summer and groans in the cold. The one you thought you had latched. You walk over, bare feet quiet against the floorboards. The morning light just beginning to filter in. The house still quiet, filled with the hush that only comes when coffee hasn't been brewed and boots haven't hit dirt. You reach for the door, touch the edge with your fingertips. It's open half an inch, just enough for a draft. Just enough for the weight of a memory to come sliding through. You push it closed. Slow. Feel the resistance of wood against frame. It sighs. Like it didn't want to be closed again. Like it's been waiting all night for a chance to say something. But you silence it with the click of the latch. The man appears a few minutes later. Tired eyes. Loose belt. Half-buttoned shirt. He pours coffee. Doesn't speak. You sit across from him. Let the warmth of the cup rest between your palms. Let the silence stretch. Then you say it. The shed door was open. He doesn't react. Just nods once. That door's older than sin. I thought I latched it. We always do. He looks at you. Long. Not suspicious. Just seeing. Then he says, "What do you think got in?" You don't know how to answer, because nothing seems missing. Nothing seems out of place. And still, something feels different. After breakfast, you walk out alone. The air is cool, crisp. The grass bends gently under your boots. You pass the chicken coop, the pump, the fence line where the new post stands solid. Everything in its place, except the feeling in your gut. You step into the shed. Let the light follow behind you. The room is still. Tools lined on the wall. Twine looped over a nail. Old saddle blankets folded neatly in the corner. Nothing out of order. And yet, you feel watched. Not by eyes. Not exactly. by absence, like someone was here. Not to take, not to touch, just to remember. You run your hand along the workbench. Dust, shavings, a nail where a hammer should be. No prints, no mud, no sign of intrusion, just that door, slightly open, and a memory you haven't invited in years. You think of her, the woman you left without a word, the one who never slammed a door, even when she should have, the one who always left it open just a little in case you found your way back. You stand there longer than you mean to, breathing in sawdust and ghosts, letting the light move slowly across the floor, and you realize something. Sometimes it's not what comes in through the open door that matters. It's what leaves. You close it again, latch it, harder this time, then test it twice. You find the woman by the garden later, kneeling in the dirt, fingernails black, sun catching in her hair. You ask, "Ever leave a door open on purpose?" She doesn't look up. "You mean so someone knows they're welcome? Or so they know what they lost?" You don't answer. She doesn't wait. Just says, "Either way, it's about trust." In what? That they'll come back, or that they won't. That night, the wind picks up. The old beams moan. The barn door shudders. You check every latch twice. The dog follows you, silent, tense. She sniffs the air like she smells something older than smoke. Older than you. Older than this whole ranch. You sit on the porch, hat in hand, eyes on the path, and you think about the doors in your life you've left open. Letters never sent. Words never said. Goodbyes never given. Each one a creaking hinge in the back of your mind. The man joins you later. Hands you a cup. Doesn't ask what you're thinking. Doesn't need to. Instead, he says, "You know what happens to doors that stay open too long?" You wait. They start to forget which way they close. You nod. Sip the coffee. Let it burn your tongue. Let it ground you. You don't ask about his doors. You've learned by now. Everyone has them. Some open, some closed. Some locked so tight the key might as well be buried in another life. That night, you dream of a hallway. Wooden, long, lit by lanterns that flicker as you pass. Each door you come to is slightly ajar. You open none of them. Just walk. Slow. Certain. Not out of fear. Out of respect. Because not every door is meant to be opened just because it can be. You wake before dawn. Again. Slip on your boots. Again. Walk the fence line. Again. The dog stays close. The world is quiet, except for the echo of hinges, real and imagined, turning in the back of your head. When you reach the shed, you test the latch again. Still firm. Still whole. You nod. Not to yourself, to the memory. Some doors you close because they need to stay closed. Some you leave open, hoping. And some you just stand in front of. Hand on the frame, heart somewhere between here and then, and you breathe. And you wait. And you try to forgive what didn't walk through. You find it in the drawer beneath the old ledger, tucked under faded receipts, a broken buckle, and a single curling photograph of someone who might have been the man before the lines settled into his face and silence became his language. The watch, not gold, not ornate, just steel and leather and weight. It isn't ticking. You lift it from the dust like it might shatter in your hand, but it doesn't. It's heavier than you expect. Cool. Still, like it remembers time, but but doesn't owe it anything anymore. You bring it to the porch, hold it up to the morning. The face is scratched, the hands frozen, the second one tilted, caught between now and never. The dog watches you from the step, tail flicking, head tilted, as if she too remembers a ticking that once filled this space. You don't wind it. Not yet. You just sit with it. Turn it in your hand. Feel the indent where the crown waits to be turned. But time isn't pressing today. And maybe, you think, some things don't want to be brought back. The man notices it over supper. Doesn't say anything at first. Just stares at your wrist. At the strap now buckled there. Didn't think you'd find that. Wasn't hiding it. But you weren't showing it either. He grunts. Then, stopped winding it after she passed. You don't ask who she is. Not because you aren't curious. Because you already know. It's in the way his fork slows between bites. The way he leans back in the chair like memory sits behind his shoulders. It's in the watch, too. Still and waiting. Not broken, just paused. Later, in the barn, while oiling the hinges on the stall door, you take it off again. Set it on the workbench. Watch the light play across its face. You wind it once. Just once. A single click. Then stop, because suddenly it feels wrong. Not like a betrayal. More like a promise unkept. You leave it ticking on the bench. A single, slow heartbeat of time. Then two, then silence again. The spring runs out, or chooses to. In the morning, the woman sees it beside your plate. She says nothing, just pours coffee and slides the tin of sugar closer to your hand. But later, by the well, she asks, "You winded yet?" You nod. Once. And? Felt like I shouldn't. She doesn't smile, but her voice softens. Some clocks don't tell time. They tell stories. What story is this one telling? That I missed something, or you're waiting to understand it. You think about that all day, while hauling feed, while checking the east fence, while helping the dog dig out a snake hole by the creek bed. What would it mean to wind the watch again? Not just once, fully, deliberately, to make it tick with purpose. That night, you take it back into the house. Set it on the mantel, next to the lantern, next to the folded handkerchief marked RJ. You don't touch it. Just let it sit there. A relic. A reminder. A question. You dream of time. Not numbers. Not clocks. Just time. As wind. As fire. As the way footsteps fade behind you, no matter how deep the dirt. In the dream, the watch ticks. Loud. Like thunder in your chest. And every tick is a name you forgot to remember. You wake before dawn. Sit up slow. The dog lifts her head from the rug. Stretches. Yawns. You nod to her like she asked a question. You still don't have the answer. The watch is still there. Silent. Patient. You pick it up. Wind it once. Twice. Fully this time. Let the gears catch. Let the spring coil. Let the second hand twitch into motion. Tick. 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 Time moves again. Or maybe it never stopped. Maybe you're just now catching up. The man finds you in the barn later. See it on your wrist. Says nothing. But before he walks away, he offers this. It doesn't keep perfect time. Neither do I. Then it suits you. And then he smiles. For the first time in weeks, you wear it every day now. Not to know what hour it is. To remember that hours exist. That each one carries weight, and wind, and the echo of something once forgotten. You still miss things. Still forget to say the words that need saying. Still leave the stove on too long. Still forget to latch the gate sometimes. But the watch ticks on. Not judging. Not waiting. Just being. A pulse. A whisper. A sound to remind you that you're still here. Sometimes that's enough. Not because you understand everything, but because something kept time while you couldn't. You always knew it was there. Not far. Not hidden. Just a short walk past the ridge, where the land flattens and the sky opens up. No marker. No name. Just a stone too big to move and too smooth to ignore, settled into the earth like it belonged more to time than to man. They told you once, early on, maybe the second week, that it was hers. That she'd asked not to be buried under a tree, not in a row, and never where the rain pooled. She'd chosen the high place. Because she liked to see the sky first thing. Even now. You've passed it. Plenty. On the way to the sheep pen. To check the fence. To gather the dog when she wanders too far. Each time you walk by it, something pulls behind your ribs. A thread that tugs, then releases. Soft. Patient. Persistent. You tell yourself, next time, but you never stop. Never kneel. Never speak. Never even tip your hat. You keep walking, and the stone keeps waiting. Today, you wake up different. Not urgent. Not restless. Just still, like the wind has paused to hear something you haven't said yet. The man notices over breakfast. You all right? You nod. Didn't sleep much. He doesn't press. Just pushes the coffee closer. Then adds, sky's clear. You nod again. Because it is. And it matters. You finish your bread. Scratch the dog behind the ear. Grab your coat, even though it's warmer than it's been. And you walk past the coop, past the trough, past the fence where the new post stands straight, up the ridge, one foot after the other, each step quieter than the last. You crest the rise and see it, just where it's always been, a little off-center, framed by nothing but tall grass and wind. No flowers, no offerings, just that single, massive stone, and the silence it commands. You stop 10 paces away, like the earth won't let you any closer until you mean it. You remove your hat, not because it's custom, because it feels wrong not to. You clear your throat. Try to speak. Fail once. Try again. I'm sorry it took this long. The wind doesn't answer, but it shifts. Soft. Gentle. Like someone turning toward you in a dream. You sit down, right there in the dirt, cross-legged, like you're 10 again. Like the only thing you've got to do today is listen. And maybe that's true. Maybe it's always been true. You talk. Not loud. Not fast. Just enough. About the mornings. The dog. The watch. The letter you didn't send and the fire you didn't light. You talk about the bread. The broken fence. The saddle that still squeaks no matter how much oil you rub into it. You tell her about the sound the gate makes when it swings slow. How the house smells like wood smoke and soap. How silence has started to feel like company instead of punishment. You stop a few times. Let the words settle into the grass. Let the silence answer for her. It always does. Then you say her name. Once. Like it's not just a sound, but a key. And something unlocks. In your chest. In the air. Maybe even in the ground. You don't cry. Not this time. Not because you're holding back. Because there's nothing left in you that needs to bleed. You're not leaking anymore. You're rooting. You reach forward, touch the edge of the stone. It's warm from the sun. Solid, permanent. You whisper, "You were right." And that's all. Because she knows the rest. You stand, hat in hand, eyes on the horizon. The wind brushes past your shoulder like a hand that used to know your name. And you let it go. Not her, not memory. The weight, the guilt, the waiting. You let that go. You turn back down the ridge, each step lighter than the one before. Not because you're finished, because you finally started. At the bottom, the dog meets you, wagging slow. She doesn't jump, just walks beside you like she knew where you were and what you left behind. The man is splitting wood near the porch. He looks up, sees your face, and says nothing, just nods once, like he's proud of a thing he'll never ask about. The woman hands you a glass of water, cool, clean, tastes like beginning. That night, as the sun disappears and the fields go quiet, you find yourself back on the porch, hat on your knee, watch ticking soft, dog curled beside you. You don't say anything. You don't need to. The day has said enough. You look at the stars, the ones she used to name, the ones you forgot. You don't try to remember them now. You just let them be. Let them shine without needing to be understood. The wind picks up, carries your name and hers into the darkness. Together, for the first time in a long time, you whisper one more thing. To the night. To her. To yourself. Thank you. And this time, the silence feels like an answer. The story ends here. But you don't. You rise tomorrow. Wind the watch. Pour the coffee. Open the door. Let the light in. Because the grave you didn't visit no longer waits. You did. And that's enough.